great taste. Sweet. Sour. So good to taste.
Welcome to Great Taste, production of Fairfield Media Center. We're here at Green Building Supply, where we are every first Tuesday of the month, except that it's the first Wednesday of the month because we had some special events yesterday that had to be taken care of, right? Personal events by our production, the person in charge of production, and the person who's the host. I'm Steve Boss, and I had a little birthday that I had to attend to, not mine. Though some people say that I consider every day to be my birthday, but we won't get into those things personally. Anyway, I'm here with Mary Adams. She is an amazing home cook. And Mary, you've been on the show numerous times, haven't you? At least twice, right?
Yep, twice.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you remember what you made before? Because I'm trying to remember.
I made at Hy-Vee, I made a chicken dish. I made chicken soup. And then
I know it was good.
Yeah, then we made tofu enchiladas.
Oh yeah, that's
the
right.
last one.
Yeah, those are really good. So, what surprises do you have in store for everybody?
Well, tonight we're making a leek potato gratin, which is gluten-free. It is thickened with the russet potatoes are brought to a boil with cream and milk. With leeks. Sauteed the leeks and the potatoes and then we bring it to a boil for just like 5 minutes, and then we'll stick it in a little casserole dish, and then we just pop it in the oven.
Pretty simple. So could you just go over the ingredients that are going to be in that particular dish?
The leeks.
You don't have to, if you don't, we've got the amounts
potatoes,
Right.
a little bit of cayenne pepper, a little bit of nutmeg, and then there's 2 cups of cream and 1.5 cups of the whole milk. I always use the Radiance dairy milk because it is the creamiest.
We're so lucky to have that.
And salt and pepper.
Right.
And then across the top of it, I'll put crumbles, and I'll also put some fresh Parmesan, Reggiano Parmesan across the top, and it'll have a nice little bubble to it. It's really, really yummy. I made this for 400 people before. And it's a dish you can make for how many ever people you need, and easy.
And if that's not enough, what's next?
That should be. And then we're making a mac and cheese. The cheeses that you can use just about any kind. They say to use the sharp cheddar. Some people find that a little too strong, so you can use a regular cheddar, or you can use, and I'm using Pecorino Romano tonight. And you can use Gruyere. It calls for Gruyere. You can use a Swiss cheese, whatever you feel like putting in the flavor of your sauce with your mac and cheese. And we're going to make a white sauce and then add that all to the white sauce.
But what I like about what you're talking about here is that there's a mixture of cheeses, and I think that that's a critical thing when you're making a good mac and cheese.
Yes.
You've got to have a nice mixture of cheeses, and you have to have something that's assertive. Some elements that are assertive.
I think that's that's why you would use the Gruyere or the Swiss or the Pecorino Romano or the Parmesan. Any one of those 4 cheeses with your cheddar cheese would do really well. It's all in your flavor, what you choose to have when you're making your sauce.
And so, what did you choose for? Well, you already mentioned
I
it.
chose
a sharp cheddar. Did you choose
cheddar? A sharp white cheddar, and then I'm going to mix it a little bit with the Pecorino Romano, and then I'll put a little bit of Parmesan in it. And you don't have to be married to anything certain. It's just whatever.
Okay, and I think that it's also, when it comes to mac and cheese, it's not. I think too many people feel like mac and cheese is what you get out of a blue box, and just like Parmesan is what you get out of a green can. And I think that it's the one thing that I wish we could do on this show, which technology hasn't developed quite this far yet, is that when this comes out of the oven, I wish everybody could taste it, because they never buy a blue box again.
Well, really, there really is no need to buy a blue box, because you can you're going to have to cook your noodles anyway. So you can take whatever cheeses, melt the cheese, put it over the top of it, and you've got mac and cheese. I always use, as I say, I like the Radiance because of the consistency of the milk. And that's what I use a lot in my cooking.
Okay.
That's what makes your soups, your whatever you're making.
Just
really
adds an extra element for
Adds an
deliciousness.
extra element. Does it, you know.
Right. Okay, so sometimes people have questions and we can't hear them, so I have to repeat what they say so that we can. Go ahead.
That you were soaking the potatoes.
Well, in
Okay,
essence,
so I have to.
go ahead.
So the potatoes. John was saying that he was noticing that the potatoes were sitting in some type of water. So what's that all about? Because it is very important.
well, with the time element that we have sliced them up through our food processor, and they're soaking in cold water, cold salted water. It's not just a time frame thing, just for.
We're
and I
doing it
use
that way because we
yeah.
also don't want it to turn brown, you know, to oxidize. So from the air. So, and it's also good. It also, if we had more time, we would probably rinse them even, you know, to take some of the starch off, you know, that type of thing. So, but we are using specific type of potatoes for all these dishes. And
Right.
Right.
The russet potato works the best for this casserole, this au gratin, due to the starch that's in it, and you're cooking that starch out. I did not soak these. I sliced them and kept them on the side because I didn't want to take the starch off the potato. I just food process them, slice them out perfect. 3 seconds, and your potatoes are sliced and ready to go.
So it doesn't take any time to make any of these dishes, really. The baking time is probably the longest amount of time for the whole thing.
Yep.
And I'm going to be making a potato leek soup, but it's going to be a little bit different. It's not exactly potato leek soup. It's going to be potato and leek and Vidalia onions, and so it'll be a little different than the normal potato leek soup. And we'll see how it turns out. It just kind of be for fun. We'll see what happens when we put all those things together. And I think I'm going to add some roasted garlic too, because it just smells like it's a good idea. Yeah, it smells like it. Doesn't it smell like it's a good idea?
Oh, yeah. You can do so much with your potato soup. You can chowder it. You can corn it. Put some fresh corn shaved in it. There's so much you can do with a potato soup.
You can add cheese to it. You can actually add greens at the end, so that it's, if you feel like it needs to be healthier, you could add, you know, chopped fresh greens to it, which would be great. You could, you know, add a little bit of parsley would be. Did you turn off my burner?
I did. Trying to turn this one off.
I'll tell you, you know, that's what people do when they want to sabotage, right, what the cooks are up to. So that's very interesting. Thank you, Mary. So for the potato leek soup, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm using, as I said, Vidalia onions. I learned that is how you really pronounce them if you're from the South, because I heard somebody recently say, I got some Vidalia onions, and the guy said, no, you couldn't, because they're pronounced Vidalia. So now I'm going to act like I'm from the South, and I'm going to pronounce it properly, Vidalia. And so I got some Vidalia onions. The reason we're using them is because they're very sweet, really, really sweet onions. And then I'm going to put some leeks in too, because I just thought, okay, that sounds like fun. I've never done this this way. We were talking about it before the show, so you always try to do something you've never done before when you're cooking for people, right? So it's actually kind of fun. It can't be bad because it's all good stuff. And I actually used a mix of butter and olive oil that I'm sauteing the leeks and the Vidalia onions in. And you don't want any color. You want them to begin to become a little translucent, but you don't want them to take on color. All right, so that's what we're doing. So you kind of have to keep a little bit of a lower heat so that you make sure, which I just noticed Mary turned my heat up to 9.
Oh, did I really?
I think I was right about what was going on here.
Yeah,
so
I am.
Anyway.
I tried to get mine down.
That's so funny. I love that. All right, so before I forget, I want to thank Green Building Supply for sponsoring the show, and also Everybody's Whole Foods contributing the food for the show, and of course Fairfield Media Center for all the production value and for hosting the show on its website. And I can also announce that we will be back on the first Tuesday of June, which is June the 5th. And those of you who were here a few months ago when Elisabetta and her sister, two little young Italian girls, were here cooking, they're coming back to cook again. And some people said it was the best show we ever did. So I'd be a fool not to have them back because they are so cute. And I don't know what they're going to be making yet, but I'm sure it's going to be great and it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so Mary.
Yes, Steve.
How about, you've moved over into the process now a little bit further. So I'm going to take this away so people can see a little bit.
I brought it to a boil. And so now I'm going to transfer it over into a baking dish. And we're gonna slip it in the oven. I should probably put that at 400.
400?
Yeah, probably to get this good, to get it done. Because it takes a bit to get it done.
Okay, it's at 400. So we're good.
Oh, I don't want to shut that off. See, I'm doing myself.
We want to turn this back on again?
No.
No.
That back one needs to be off.
The back one needs to be off. Okay, good. So we're good. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through the the steps here for making this leek and Vidalia onion soup just really quickly, because it's also very simple and easy. All you're doing is you're taking some butter and some olive oil and you're melting, you're softening it in the pan, then you're putting in the leeks and the onion, you're stirring it, getting a little bit of wilted down, translucency in the base, so you're creating this flavor base. And then you're going to add the potatoes. And at the same time that you add the potatoes, you're going to add salt. All right? And the potatoes have been sliced thinly. You can see they also were put into the Cuisinart. So it was really simple, quick, easy to do. And Mary did all that for me, and I appreciate that very much. And then you're going to add the potatoes into the salt, and then you're going to add a little bit of water once you let these cook for just a few minutes, because what you would really like is you'd like the heat turned up just enough so that there's a little bit of, we'll say, gloss that's forming on the bottom of the pan, and then you can deglaze it a little bit with just a cup of water, and then you can add all the rest of your water. So just getting a little bit more flavor. You need to get into the oven?
Yes, I do need to get it in.
Come on in. All right, that's beautiful.
I hope it doesn't run over. But
Well, if it does, we'll be out of here without cleaning. All right, now, something's happening that is important. This is the next dish, right? This is your mac and cheese?
Yeah, we're cooking the flour and the butter and the onions together, kind of browning the flour as you go along. You don't have to make a roux. You can do it on your own.
So, and
Like
why are
this.
you doing this?
Flour, it's a personal thing. I like to cook my flour before I do anything, and I think it's kind of gives it a little nutty flavor to it. Mm-hmm. So all my gravies, all my sauces, I cook the flour in a little bit of butter before in the South, they cook it in a skillet, and they call it a roux, but I don't have to do that.
We're not in the South, are we?
No, we're not.
Right.
We're
We
not.
were pronouncing Vidalia, but otherwise we're not. So what's the next? I noticed that you used DiCecco.
Pardon me?
I noticed that you used DiCecco pasta. You're using DiCecco pasta.
I like this pasta the best when I make mac and cheese. I like this. It holds up, it cooks nicely, and I'm going to add a little more oil.
So the good thing about DiCecco is that it's available basically everywhere. It is a terrific, just general pasta. That's a high quality pasta. If you talk to chefs, you'll find that if they get into a pinch and they have to use, something that they, maybe they use some really special dried pasta like felicetti, for example, but they got into a pinch, they would be picking DiCecco probably. So it's just a really high quality brand, consistent brand of pasta in terms of its quality. So it's definitely something that you should, if you're going to have pasta in your house, it's a good one to have.
Well, if you're going to do it, you may as well use the best.
That's right. I agree with that.
A good friend of mine I've worked with for a long time said do the best, and it'll always turn out the best.
And that's especially important for food.
Yeah. Well, that's what she was saying. When you cook with the best food, and you're going to have So now we're gonna do the milk. It takes, I've got a little brown, so I'm gonna add 5.5 cups of milk.
Okay.
And it's all by taste. And I have added in here a little bit of nutmeg.
Oh, now that is, I love nutmeg. That's
Yeah.
good. Did you grate that, or
No,
you bought some?
I
You
used
bought some.
the
Right. Okay. I won't
Frontier.
say anything. It's fine.
yeah.
It's
Not a-
absolutely fine. Yeah, nutmeg is so wonderful to add, but you have to be. It's one of those spices you have to be very careful with, because if you over nutmeg,
And it's nutmeg is not a flavor that you'll like in your mac and cheese. A little bit of red pepper flakes or cayenne pepper,
Or you
something with a little zing.
or that la vera pimenton, that
Yes.
would be good, right? The,
Yeah, if I-
the Spanish roasted
Yeah.
peppers. That would be good for smoke. Truffle. Oh, if you've got a good budget, sure, you could put some truffle mac and cheese. That would be really good. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to when Zabit opens up her expense account for everybody, then she's gonna invite us all over for truffle mac and cheese. Yes, let's hear it. Let's hear it for her. That's right. Wait, Tom definitely wants to be one of the people coming over there. You're absolutely right. I mean, it'd be fantastic, truffle mac and cheese. So while we're waiting for her milk to get going here, so that she can go on to the next step, I thought I would float something that I've been thinking a lot about over the last few weeks, because I've had so many mediocre meals out that I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about how, there are consequences. There's always consequences for things, your actions, in life. And if you have a restaurant that's not clean, then the health inspector comes and you have to follow certain procedures, or otherwise you get a bad rating, right? And then people don't come. But if your food isn't good, then the only thing that could possibly happen is that people don't come, and then you close your restaurant. But since there's such a wide variety of differences in taste, right? Then you can find that people have lots of business, even if maybe you or I walked into the restaurant and didn't think that it was that great. Mm-hmm. So in my major, I don't know if this is a word, ecumenicalness. I'm not sure that's a word. I decided that my taste and some other people that I know could be set up as the bar for rating restaurants, right?
Oh.
Right, the gold standard, perfectly. Yeah, and that if you went in and you rated the restaurant, and then you publish somewhere your results, and like in society in general, if maybe you get there's 3 strikes and you get prison sentence or whatever. If you get 3 strikes, then you get put in prison. If your food's bad. Or, right, restaurant prison, exactly. So I thought about this for a while, and then I decided that was really not a positive way to approach things. So then I thought, well, how could it be approached? And I thought, well, it could be really cool because there's a society that certifies people who make pizza, La Vera Pizza Napoletana, right? They certify if you're interested in making Napoletana pizza in the way that it's traditionally made, you can get certification. So how about if you set up a certification opportunity for people who are interested in only we'll use some of the standards that Slow Food uses, good, clean, and fair, as their objective for what they turn out based on the type of ingredients that they utilize, and their the way they cook, and how they treat their staff, and how they interact with their customers, and the type of environment that they create. And I just thought, that's a great idea, because this was all, it all came about because somebody was asking me, could you write an article about the latest apps, how you go about finding where you want to eat? And I said, no, I can't, because there isn't an app that exists out there that has the kind of criteria that I'm talking about. It's all first of all, it's all subjective, which is fine. But there isn't anyone who's looking at all those different aspects. Slow food is about as close as you can get because they look at those three things: good, clean, and fair. And so they're talking about the quality of the food, they're talking about the quality of the environment, they're talking about how the food was raised, where did it come from, was it grown in a sustainable way, and then how it's prepared, and how everyone is treated along the way. So that would kind of be the basis of the whole thing, except that the standard would be the boss standard or other people. I don't know. I'm looking at somebody in the audience and I'm thinking to myself, her standard might be a little higher than we could afford to put out there because nobody might pass. So, so maybe the boss standard's a little bit more lenient. So. Anyway, I don't know if anybody has any reaction to that, but if you do, you can let me know. I just got a kick out of thinking all the way through that recently because I just am so. I just don't think that it's fair for the consumer to have to go somewhere to a restaurant and pay for a service, pay for food that isn't well thought out in terms of all those different things, where the person behind it, I want every consumer to be able to go to a restaurant and have the experience of the person or people behind that food have really put their whole passion into what they're doing. Just like when you cut hair, Zavit, you are focused on that particular person. You're trying to do the best that you possibly can for them, using the best products that you possibly can for them to make that whole experience something special. And I think that's, needs to be guided. Certainly there are tons of restaurants that do that. But I think that in the States, for sure, there's a lot of mediocrity. And a lot of people who have, who are in the restaurant business that haven't maybe given it that much thought. And
I think it's so important that food be tasty. And you're putting it's like any artist, you put your name on your food and you serve it. And that's like when you go to a restaurant that is not that good and they've got their name on it, how can they serve it? How can they charge you for what their product is? When I cook at home all the time because of that, is the quality that you get.
We do too.
Out is just, I'm gonna dump this,
Okay.
I hope.
All right, well, you're making a very interesting point there because that's why, we cook at home too. And I was watching, has anybody had the chance to watch the latest Chef's Table series on Netflix, which is about pastry, right? And that's the latest Chef's Table. And one of them featured a gentleman from Sicily who's a pastry chef. And I just want to read a couple of things that he said because I think it fits right into what Mary said in terms of the thought process that goes behind cooking. And his name is Corrado Asenza. And he has Cafe Sicilia. I think he's the fourth generation in Noto, Sicily. And one of the things that he said is that he said, Sicily has become commercialized. Where there were once vegetable gardens, those lands were used to build shopping centers. Fake cities where you don't buy fresh, you buy preserved, and you call that civilization. This is ignorance. I needed to make the world understand the difference between a commercialized product and the quality born in this land. And then he was talking about the farmer who provides him with the milk, the sheep's milk, for his ricotta. And he said, very profound thing. He said, there's no quality in the ingredient if there's no quality in the person that produces it. So you need to find farmers who understand quality in their work. And then, he said, once you do that, it's my duty, if he gives me the perfect ricotta, to make the perfect gelato. And I thought that was just like, I'm getting chills, just reading that. I thought it was just absolutely incredible that this is what guides him in his pastry shop and why he is in Sicily from what I understand, talking to one of our friends who's Sicilian, the most famous pastry chef in Sicily, and his place is well known, and people come from all over to go there. Wow, tell us what's going on here.
Well, I added cheddar, and I added the pecorino romano, and I'm probably going to add a little bit more milk because it looks like it's really thick.
See if we can. Let's see if we can show people.
Yeah.
This looks like. Oh yeah.
But as it bakes, it would thicken up. It'll thicken up.
So you need it to be a little thinner before it goes in.
Yeah, a little bit thinner.
When you get it to where you want it to be, let's show everybody so they can see what it's going to look like when you put it into the casserole.
Just a little bit more milk.
Okay.
We're going to cook it right in this pan due to, well, we might put a little bit on there in the casserole dish.
Oh, we're not, is anybody counting calories or anything? Because they're kind of,
You went past that one.
they're kind of in the wrong place, right? Do you know that when you eat really good food that's cooked with love, it doesn't have any effect on you whatsoever?
Calories just makes you happy.
That's right, exactly.
This is a little thinner.
Oh yeah, okay, that's much thinner. So that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah, and then we're
And
going
so what's the procedure then? What's going to be? So you've got your pasta ready, and do you do your pasta al dente, so that it's,
a little al dente,
okay.
Just a little.
It's going to cook a little bit more, right?
Yeah, it'll cook a little bit more.
So all the pasta goes into this mix.
Yeah.
All right. And then you just mix it up.
Right.
And it's going to thicken up, you said, even more.
Yeah, it'll thicken up a little bit more. What's really nice about this is I smoke. I have a smoker, and I've smoked mac and cheese, and it is amazing. Just to stick it on your smoker.
Yeah. And what else do you do, Mary? Because I know that you do something else.
What's that?
At home.
Oh yeah, I've smoked tofu.
Oh, that's not what you do
I've
at home.
smoked chicken, beef, pork.
But what do you usually do with your mac and cheese?
Oh, I add bacon to it. Crispy bacon. I found I have a really good bacon company, a company out of that I get my bacon from. That's amazing. Yes.
So if you wanted to add that kind of flavor, you could, try to find some of the smoked coconut chips that people make that are, kind of bacon substitutes if you don't eat bacon. And one thing you could smoke some turkey and put it in there. There's so many different things that you could do.
Turkey bacon, anything with that little smoke taste to it.
Really, really, really good. So, should I put this garlic in? I think I should, shouldn't I? Yeah. I think I should do that. Okay, let's see. We'll see what happens. So the great thing about roasting garlic, which is really simple, you just lop off, not the seed end, right? But the other end, and you just put a little bit of salt, pepper, a little olive oil on top, wrap it up in aluminum foil, put it in the oven to roast at 325 for about 35 minutes. And what you end up with are these beautiful, soft, very sweet cloves of garlic. It transforms it totally and makes it totally sweet. So we'll just put a little, because we don't want it to be, we're not making garlic soup here.
All right. Steve, I'm going to stick this in the oven.
Can everybody see what it looks like?
I put breadcrumbs over the top. Just
tip it more.
can't go too far.
That's as far as we're going.
Toasted breadcrumbs.
Jason?
I kind of put them in butter, chop them up and put them in butter, and it'll crunchy up when I.
Beautiful. Okay, so we're going into the oven. Okay. Oh gosh.
Look at that.
You should see this. The other thing, the scalloped potatoes.
Yes.
They are absolutely gorgeous. Now, with the soup, it's only going to cook for about 25 minutes till the potatoes get totally softened. And then, ideally, what we would do is we would take it and put it into a blender and blend it. And then what we would do is reheat it for a little bit on the stove. if you wanted to get really fancy, you could strain it through a chinois. I mean, all kinds of stuff if you wanted to do that. But we're not going to do any of those things. We're going to use a stick blender because that's going to be so much easier here. And maybe there'll be some chunks left, but it'll work out okay, right?
You're right.
I think so, yeah.
You can even use, if you're on the holidays and you have extra mashed potatoes left over, you can start this process and use a few chunks of potato and cook them, but add your mashed potatoes in with it, and it'll make it a nice creamy potato soup. And you can also add little chunks sauté celery with your leeks or your onions, and that makes a nice.
And we're going to partially cover this, and I wanted to taste it because I was so involved in talking, which is so unusual for me, I forgot to put salt into it. So I had to kind of.
Do you need any of these?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay.
Is that salt?
This is salt. This is Eden sea salt that we use for our general purpose salt here. And I'm just going to put a little bit more in, because what you really want to do with any dish is you want to make sure that you've salted it properly. But as you go along, you don't want to really have to add salt at the end of the dish, and you don't want it to taste salty either. So that the judicious use of salt is that you want it to have that right flavor that you need to bring out all the other flavors, but you don't want the salt element to be something that, in general, that sticks out, unless it's a dish that you want to finish with some kind of flaky salt, for example. And I also used a little bit of, I don't know if it's going to come through or not, we'll see, but I used a little bit of smoked salt, in here to give it a little smokiness.
Now, since
Tiny
we're
bit.
talking about potatoes tonight too, if you make your soup and you're making a vegetable soup or the potato soup, anything that you're cooking, and you've tasted it and it's too salty, put yourself a potato, hack up how much ever, just stick a hole in there, and it'll absorb some of your salt. That's if it's too much.
And if you've made it too much, it won't matter how many potatoes you've put in, because I did that.
Did you?
Oh yeah. And I kept trying to. It didn't work because I had made it too salty. Whatever it was just way too salty. So yeah, it's better to be judicious in your use and be
layer it.
Yeah, and you can add it at different points during the cooking process, so that way you can taste it and make sure that it's right when you finish it up. So that's the most important thing. Okay, so it's really very simple. All three of these dishes, really easy. And we were talking a little bit about potatoes before the show started, because Jason was mentioning that potatoes don't get, they get a bum rap from a lot of people. And Mary and I were saying, well, not at our house, they don't. Because neither one of us has ever met a potato that we don't like. So, but it's true. A lot of people, for some reason think that the potato is a lowly type of vegetable, and doesn't have a place in their particular repertoire. But the potato it has so many different uses.
There's so many different
and there's so many different kinds of
They're
potatoes,
so
right? Yeah.
And you're in the
good.
Midwest. Midwest people eat potatoes.
Yes, and the thing is, I saw this magnet today in my room, because you know how people, when you say you're from Iowa, some people say, oh, I've been to Ohio before. Mm-hmm. And some people say, oh, I've been to Idaho before, right? So and so there's this magnet that I have, and I think it's like, yes, in Ohio we grow the best potatoes. So it is kind of funny, being from here, right? So Mary, you were telling me that there are a couple places that you like, because sometimes we'd like to give people little tips about places they might want to try out when they're on the road. And you were saying that you have found a couple places in Des Moines recently that you liked. There was a taco place you were talking about?
Yes, there's a place called Bandit Burrito that's just north of Merle Hay Road when you're taking Interstate 80 over. It's a fresh Mexican. It's like a McDonald's style. When you walk in, it's a drive-in style. And you just go in and you can take your burrito. They take a burrito. You have different and you can pick up. And he makes fresh beans. His guacamole's fresh. Everything's fresh every day that goes out, and it's really good.
Nice.
It's good.
Nice.
And then there's another place called Fletcher's, and I think it's 14th Street. And
Somewhere.
Somewhere my daughter
Right.
lives, right? You know, so it's like off of Delaware and between Delaware, and then you go the.
It's a new place?
Yes, it's a year old, year and a half old, maybe, and it's awesome inside.
So is it fancy or casual?
No,
or,
no, no,
and
no.
What
It's
kind of food do they?
They have pizzas. They have a beautiful bakery with beautiful, nice breads and cookies and just that whole bakery scene. And then they have all kinds of fresh sandwiches. They use their own bread in their sandwiches and nice salads and top grade, whether you eat hamburger or whatever, you know, whatever your choice is. It's a nice, relaxing place to go.
Good.
Yes.
So where did you get, I mean, you are such a passionate cook. Where did you get started cooking?
I started cooking. My mother, well, there's a family of 11, and I worked for a family in high school starting my sophomore year, and she was an invalid, and she started teaching me how to cook. My mom was a salt and pepper cook.
What does that mean?
Meaning, if it's not salt and pepper, most likely it's not going to be on whatever it is you're eating. You know, she would have a cupboard, but she didn't know, you know, she never used. Maybe a little bit of chili powder for the chili and, you know, maybe a little herbs for the spaghetti sauce or something if she ever made it. But I had 7 brothers, so they would just eat whatever was out there.
Well, but
you know?
what did she do? Did she actually cook every meal for
Oh,
everybody?
my mom cooked 3 meals a day.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
That must have been quite a chore for everybody. And did you got, at a certain age, were you all required to help her?
We all helped everything. We did whatever we could. You know, I was number 6, so. And I've been cooking ever since.
But you didn't actually learn until you worked for this other woman.
No, I never worked. I never really learned until I worked in high school. I learned, and then I have just jumped up with the different families that I've worked for. Yeah.
And so who would you say has, you know, is there one person that's been more of a mentor to you in the kitchen than anybody else?
I would say in the cooking department, yeah, probably.
And what did, and you know, anybody that we know? Or?
Yeah, I think you all know the Dimmicks. I worked for them for almost 13 and a half, 13 years. And Linda is a fabulous cook. And she gave me the foundation that I needed to be able to accomplish what I wanted. And I cooked for the Farsos before that. But basically it was with a recipe. And Linda we used recipes, but she also jumped up, gave me the ability to expand.
And be creative on your own.
Be creative
Like
on
launch
your own.
from the recipe
Right.
to a particular dish.
Right.
Right. Now, so did your kids get to enjoy that, or was that post?
Oh, no.
time?
My kids all love Indian food. They love everything I cook, basically.
But what I mean is, in the span of time that you were raising your kids, where were you in the cooking process, in your cooking education as a home cook?
I cooked all the time.
Right,
at home.
but had you already been working with Linda for?
I'd been.
They were still at
well,
home
see,
at
my
that time,
kids
or not?
were. My kids were babies when I started working for the Farsos.
Okay,
And
so-
then they graduated from high school, and then Linda and Michael left town, and
So they got, what I was trying to get at was they got the benefit of.
right.
Right, okay, because
Right.
that's.
I'm sorry. Yes.
That's all right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just hoping that they got the, you know,
They
to
they
enjoy
got
it.
the benefit of
Right.
what. And to
Nice.
this day, if I'm cooking,
Is it, Mom, could you make?
they come home and my son will call and say, "Mom, I'm coming home."
And you say, yeah,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. So we do all kinds of
And
stuff.
so what is it that different one, you know, like, for example, this son that you're talking about, what is it that he particularly wants you to cook?
Fried chicken and
Fried-
mashed potatoes and gravy. And
He's got good taste.
He's got that. It's whatever I make. They're just happy. They like lasagna. They like just
Now,
just all kinds of food they love.
people don't know, I mean, a lot of people who are going to see this don't realize that you also work in a store that specializes in cooking utensils and equipment and food for, you know, olive oils and vinegars and all kinds of other things. So your education continues all the time that way.
It does. It continues all the time. You learn the different olive oils. You learn the spices, more spices, and you know it's fun. I love, 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 love to cook, and I like to experiment with cooking.
Like what I'm doing?
Like with what you're doing, yeah. And what's really nice is if you have a white sauce, you can do just about anything with it, whether you make it sweet or savory or what, make it a custard or so much.
And so when you and your husband, see, a lot of people may not know this, because you like to take motorcycle rides, right? Right? And when you do that, is there always a restaurant involved or not?
No, typically not. We just take off riding. We know about where to go and what to do.
But I saw you once at a pizza place, I know.
Yes, Mount Vernon Pizza Place.
Right.
Yeah. We happened to be camping up in Iowa City at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, in case you don't know this, there's a place that opened, I think we mentioned it on the show. It's called Maggie's Wood-Fired Pizza. It opened in Iowa City a few months ago. It's actually very good, so it's something that you might want to check out on your next jaunt up there.
I have two little girls in Iowa City
there?
that call Grandma a lot.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, good. Yeah. I saw you go.
He snuck in.
Yeah, I saw him over there, That's great. Okay, so I would like to know what his favorite dish is, your husband. Does he have one?
Fried chicken and mashed potatoes.
Another fried chicken and mashed potatoes person.
Or fried round steak and mashed potatoes.
Okay, tell us how you make your mashed potatoes.
I basically use a Yukon Gold potato for my mashed potatoes. Sometimes I'll use the russets but I like, my preference is a Yukon Gold, because then you don't have to add as much butter and get the flavor to it that the russets do, and they have less sugar in them, less starch in the Yukon Gold. And since he's diabetic, we have to watch that kind of stuff. So, yeah, basically whatever.
Okay, so tell us what else goes into it.
Oh, we could use. Depends on who's at my house. We'll use sour cream.
We're talking about your husband. So.
Oh, he'll eat whatever. I can use sour cream. I can use milk, sour cream. Cream cheese, anything like that, as long as it looks like a creamy potato that's basically eaten at my house.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay, and just salt and pepper?
Salt and pepper.
Okay, so and butter, of course, yes. Of course. So, and how do you get your potatoes? What kind of consistency does he like, or do you like? So
I like them with lump.
You like
I like
them
a
with
little lump in it, so I can.
So you're going to hand mash them?
I always hand mash it, because if you don't, and you're not paying attention to what you can do, you're doing. If you use a Yukon or a Red Jacket or something, you'll get it too gluten-y, and you have to be careful about that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like the fancier places might, use a potato ricer, and they're gonna, make it so it's just so smooth and silky and everything. I don't like it like that. I want some bite, some interest, in my different bites that I'm going to take out of there. I want to know that there, really was a potato in there.
Yeah, it wasn't a box.
Right, exactly.
That's my
exactly. Oh my gosh, I guess people still do that, don't they?
They do.
Oh.
I was at a wedding and they did. And I'm going, goodness, it was just sad. I felt so bad for my sister. I would have.
Well, there is, the one good thing about if you use a box, you can definitely tell it has a distinct taste. So you don't have to worry about whether or not it was.
Would that be the cardboard flavor?
I'm not sure if it's the cardboard flavor or not. It's just very different, and certainly the consistency is totally different than a regular, And you know what I also like about doing it that way is I just like that it's uneven in a sense. It's like some parts are this way, some parts are smoother, some parts have those little lumps to it. It's not the same kind of, you don't want lumps in your oatmeal, but lumps in your mashed potatoes, I think that works okay. And it's the same thing with me with applesauce too. I don't want silky smooth applesauce. I want chunky applesauce.
That's me also.
I like it. All right, how many people are chunky people here? Oh, almost everybody. Okay, chunky people. No, one person, so hold on. You're a chunky person too? Okay, everybody's a chunky person except one person. Okay, how about this? How many people are the peanut butter smooth or crunchy? Smooth. How many people are smooth peanut butter people? And everybody else is crunchy?
Yes.
Right, okay, so yeah, I go with that. I go with the crunchy part. So it's fun. All right, so I want to remind everybody again that the next show is June the 5th. And that's Tuesday, June the 5th, and two little Italian girls are going to cook for us, and I don't know what they're going to make yet, so I'm looking forward to it. Also, wherever you happen to be, if it's May, and probably into October. Your farmers market is going to be starting outside, right? Because locally our farmers market's starting this Saturday outside, and Iowa City the same. And actually Iowa City's farmers market started outside today. They actually started already, so that's great. So it's farmers market season, and some of you probably are going to, how many people have a vegetable garden planned for this year? Great, just a little, okay, yeah, we did too, but we planted, most everything got planted on Sunday, and then last night there was like a deluge, so I hope that, I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Oh my gosh.
We don't want to burn it.
Okay, let's just check that out. Oh yeah. Look at how beautiful that is. I don't know if you can you get it? It's so pretty. Just absolutely gorgeous. And we want our macaroni and cheese to get done, so we're gonna close that back up. So what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for this to come to a boil, by the way. So that's what's going on. And once it comes to a boil, then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for about 15-20 minutes, and we're going to partially cover it. And with about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes left, we're going to add some fresh dill. So this is fresh chopped dill. It really smells good. I don't know if you can smell it out there or not. But a lot of people use tarragon in this type of preparation. But I was going to use tarragon. My wife said, don't use tarragon, because everybody likes dill, but a lot of people don't like tarragon. So I didn't know that, but I always listen to my wife. If you believe that. And I heard that. So we're not using tarragon. And also the other thing that she said, though, which is really true, is that for some reason, at least around here, the tarragon can have such a wide range of flavor that it can be a little, it just not necessarily something, if you're looking for a particular tarragon flavor, you may not find that in what you bought at the store, depending upon when you're getting it and who it's from. So I'm not schooled in all the intricacies of tarragon tasting, but I totally believed what she said, and dill seems to me to be dill for the most part. So, and I'm so happy to have had you here. It's been so much fun, and I can't wait to taste all this stuff. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
This is so easy.
You
so easy.
Just mention one more time. You know, we're going to have the ingredients posted now. Don't get carried away. We may or may not have the quantities of those ingredients posted, but we will. Those of you who know, that was an inside joke, because I always say that as home cooks, we never have everything written down properly. So we will have the ingredients posted. Jason's suggested that we do that, and on some of the actual footage, we will have real quantities listed. We may have to clarify that, like, for example, the quantities listed for this soup are for 16 portions. So you might want to back it off a little bit.
But it's always good warmed up with the grilled cheese.
Oh, yes, it would be.
Yes.
Yes, that would be delicious. So also there's some other treats here for those of you to enjoy. If you have any suggestions, I just thought about this. I've never thought about asking anybody, if you're watching or if you come to the show, if you have any suggestions of things that you'd like us to make on future shows, please do that. Please suggest it, because that would be really fun to have people. Or if you have suggestions of people who could come and cook on the show, that would also be really great, because there are so many good home cooks everywhere, and it'd be wonderful to be able to avail ourselves of their talents here on Great Taste. So, anything else that you'd like to contribute?
Nope. I don't think so. Well, you could put fennel in that too,
Yes, you've been thinking
chopped fennel. Fresh chopped fennel, and it is delicious too. I was just going to add that.
It would be really good. And you could, I think I might have mentioned this earlier, you could add a little Parmesan to it at the end if you wanted to too.
Yeah.
It would be good. But at the same time, and here's another thing. I think, did anybody think, well, that's kind of like, isn't that a fall kind of dish, leek and potato soup? But the truth is that it isn't, because when those potatoes, which we'll probably start seeing in another 4 weeks or so, are ready, all the new potatoes, it'll be a fantastic dish to make spring leek and potato soup with spring onions, spring garlic. It'll be absolutely
the onions would
Yeah. It'll be
Little green
terrific.
onions. Yes.
All right, so thanks very much for listening to and watching Great Taste. We're coming to you every first Tuesday of the month, production of Fairfield Media Center. And also, just for your information, we will be starting our audio journey back on a weekly basis mid to the end of this month, also available at the Fairfield Media Center site and on the Fairfield Media Center app. So thank you very much. You've been watching Great Taste, a production of Fairfield Media Center, 60 minutes most of the time, not this time, because our battery is dying. And I'm your host, Steve Boss. Thanks so much. All right, that's beautiful.
Great taste. Sweet. Sour. So good the taste.